The grand hall was full of monsters. That was the only way to describe them. 300 students from 40 different species sat in curved rows that rose up toward the ceiling. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had shells that clicked when they moved. All of them were predators. All of them were hunters. And all of them had come to the Galactic Apex Academy to become even more dangerous. The academy floated in space near a dying red star. It was old, very old. For thousands of years, the galaxy's most powerful species had sent their young here to train. Only predator species were allowed. Only hunters. Only those born with claws and fangs and the instinct to kill. Today was the induction ceremony, the first day of the new year. Elder Sulka stood on the stage at the front of the hall. She was tall and thin with gray-green scales and eyes that had seen 10,000 years pass. She was speaking about honor and strength and the pride of being a hunter. The students listened with respect, some with fear. No one noticed the small door at the back of the hall open. No one noticed the girl slip inside. Her name was, she was 19 years old. She had dark hair that fell past her shoulders and a face that looked tired but kind. She wore the same gray uniform as everyone else, but on her small frame it looked too big. She was human, the first human ever accepted into the Apex Academy. Found an empty seat in the back row. She sat down quietly and folded her hands in her lap. She did not want attention. She did not want trouble. She just wanted to learn and survive and make her planet proud. She looked up at Elder Sulka on the distant stage and tried to listen. That was when everything changed. It started with, his species looked like wolves that had learned to walk on two legs. They had silver fur and yellow eyes and teeth that could bite through metal. They were famous hunters. They were proud and strong and feared nothing. But right now felt afraid. He was sitting 3 rows ahead of, he had not seen her enter. He had not heard her sit down. But suddenly, every hair on his body stood up. His claws came out without his permission. His heart started beating fast and hard. Something was behind him. Something dangerous. Tried to control himself. He was a trained warrior. He had killed his first prey when he was 8 years old. He did not get scared. He did not lose control. But his body would not listen to his mind. His body was screaming at him to run. He was not alone. All around the hall, other students were feeling the same thing. A with 4 arms stopped breathing. A with black scales began to shake. A thornback curled into a defensive ball without meaning to. Conversations died. Movement stopped. 300 predators slowly turned their heads toward the back of the hall. Toward the girl in the back row. Felt the silence before she understood it. She had been watching Elder Sulka. She had been trying to translate the words in her head. She had not noticed anything wrong. But now the whole hall was quiet. Now everyone was looking at her. 300 pairs of eyes. Yellow eyes and red eyes and black eyes and eyes that glowed in the dark. All of them staring at her. Blinked. She looked left. She looked right. She looked behind her to see if someone else had entered. There was no one else. They were looking at her. She did not understand. She had done nothing wrong. She had been quiet. She had been polite. She was just sitting here. So she did the only thing she could think of. She raised her hand and gave a small, awkward wave. On the stage, Elder Sulka had stopped speaking. Her ancient eyes were fixed on the human girl. Her claws tapped slowly on the stone podium. Her aide leaned close. "Elder, should we remove her?" The students seemed disturbed. Sulka did not answer right away. She watched wave at the frozen crowd. She watched the girl's confused smile. She watched her look around with innocent curiosity, completely unaware of what she was doing to the room. Finally, Sulka spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper. "So, they sent one of the Endurance." "Elder." "The humans." Sulka's eyes never left. "I wondered if they would truly send one. I wondered if they even knew what they were." What do you mean? Sulka finally looked away. She straightened her robes. She prepared to continue her speech as if nothing had happened. Every predator in this room can feel it, she said quietly. Their instincts are screaming at them. Their blood remembers something their minds have forgotten. Remembers what? Sulka looked at her aide with eyes that held 12,000 years of memory. That humans are what hunted the hunters. That before we had starships and colonies and empires, there was a small blue planet full of creatures that could chase you until your heart exploded from fear. That somewhere in the galaxy, there exists a species patient enough to follow you forever. She turned back to the crowd, to the frozen predators, to the confused human girl still sitting in the back row with her awkward smile. The students are right to be afraid, Elder Sulka said. They just do not know why yet. And in the back row, finally lowered her hand and wondered what she had done wrong. The first week was hard. Tried her best to fit in. She woke up early. She went to every class. She sat in the front row and took careful notes. She smiled at everyone she met. She said please and thank you in 3 different languages. None of it helped. In the dining hall, students would pick up their food and walk away when she sat down. In the training rooms, no one would partner with her for exercises. In the hallways, other students pressed themselves against the walls to let her pass, their eyes wide and their bodies shaking. Did not understand. She was not big. She was not strong. She could not run fast or see in the dark or smell prey from a mile away. She was just a human, just a small, quiet girl from a small, blue planet at the edge of the galaxy. Why did everyone look at her like she was a monster? On the 5th day, a human ship arrived at the academy. It carried Earth's diplomatic representative. He was 32 years old with a calm face and patient eyes. His job was to make sure was safe and to handle any problems between humans and aliens. He had not expected so many problems. They won't go near her, the academy administrator told him. We've had students request room changes. Some have asked to leave the academy entirely. 3 warriors fainted when she walked into combat training. Frowned, she's 19 years old, she's 5'3". She weighs 50 kilograms. What exactly are they afraid of? The administrator, a pale creature with too many eyes, looked uncomfortable. We do not know, they cannot explain it, they just say. They feel wrong around her, like something in their blood is warning them. Decided to investigate himself. He found a student named in the training yard, was big and strong with silver fur and scars across his face. He was supposed to be one of the best fighters in his year, but when mentioned, the warrior's yellow eyes went wide. The human girl's voice was rough. You want to know why we fear her? Yes. Was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke in a low voice. When she looks at me, my blood knows something my mind does not. It knows that she could chase me, that she would not stop, that she would follow me until my heart exploded in my chest. That's ridiculous, said. She's just a student. I know, looked down at his claws. That is what makes it worse. I know she is small and weak. I know I could kill her in seconds, but my instincts do not care about what I know. They only care about what they remember. Remember what? Had no answer. But he was tired of being afraid. He was tired of running from a creature half his size. He was a warrior. He had killed beasts 10 times larger than himself. He would not spend another day avoiding a human girl. The next morning, he found in the training hall. She was practicing alone, as always. She was hitting a training dummy with slow, clumsy punches. Her form was bad. Her power was weak. Any predator in the academy could defeat her in seconds. Human called out. Turned, when she saw him, she smiled. It was not a threatening smile. It was the smile of someone happy to see another person. Hello, she said. You're right, I've seen you in combat class. I challenge you, said. A hunt spar, you and me right now. Smile faded. "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm not very good at fighting." "I don't care. I need to see. I need to understand." He waited for her to refuse again. Instead, she looked at him with those strange human eyes, brown and soft and completely without fear. "Okay," she said quietly, "if it will help you." They faced each other in the center of the training hall. Other students gathered to watch. They stayed far back, pressed against the walls. None of them wanted to be close to the human. The spar began. Attacked fast and hard. His claws raked across his arm. She stumbled back. He hit her again. She fell. But she got up. He threw her across the room. She hit the wall hard enough to crack it. For a moment, she did not move. Then she stood up. Again and again, attacked. He hit her with everything he had. He moved faster than any human could see. He used techniques that had killed warriors twice his size. Took every blow. She fell down, she got back up. She fell down, she got back up. Her breathing stayed calm. Her eyes stayed focused. Even when blood ran down her face, even when her legs shook, she kept standing. 40 minutes passed. His attack slowed. His breathing became heavy. His muscles burned. He had never fought this long before. No prey had ever lasted this long. After 50 minutes collapsed. He lay on the ground, gasping for air. His whole body was shaking with exhaustion. He had given everything he had. He had nothing left. Walked over to him slowly. She was covered in bruises and cuts. Her uniform was torn, but she was still standing. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small bottle of water. "Here," she said, kneeling beside him, "you should drink." Stared at her. His yellow eyes were wide with something new, not fear, understanding. Humans did not fight like predators. They did not need to be faster or stronger. They just needed to still be standing when their enemy fell. That night, Elder Sulka called to her chamber. The elder sat in shadows, her ancient scales catching the dim light. She studied the human girl with eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. "Do you know what you are?" Sulka asked. Shook her head. "I'm just a student." "No," Sulka leaned forward. "Your kind were erased from galactic records 12,000 years ago. Every trace of your species was hidden. Every memory was buried." "Why?" Sulka was quiet for a long moment. "Because," she said finally, "they were afraid that if the galaxy remembered humans, no predator would ever sleep peacefully again." Stood very still. "I wonder now," Sulka continued, "if erasing you was a mistake, or if it was mercy." She did not explain what she meant, but for the first time since arriving at the academy, felt that she was beginning to understand why everyone was so afraid. Elder Sulka's archive chamber was deep beneath the academy. The walls were covered with old stone and older memories. Screens glowed with files that had not been opened for thousands of years. Sat in a small chair across from the elder. She felt like a child waiting to hear a scary story. Maybe that was exactly what this was. "How much do you know about your own history?" Sulka asked. Earth history, thought for a moment. We learned about wars and kings and empires. We learned about science and art. We learned how we finally reached the stars. But before that, before civilization, before cities, when humans were just another animal on a planet full of animals. Shook her head slowly. "Not much. We were hunters, I think. We made tools. We lived in groups." Sulka's eyes reflected the glow of the archive screens. "You were more than hunters. You were something the galaxy had never seen before, something it had no defense against." She pressed a button. The screens flickered to life. 12,000 years ago, the Galactic Collective was young. We were exploring, we were expanding. We found a small blue planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy. The creatures there seemed harmless. Soft skin. No claws, no fangs, no armor. They could not see well in the dark. They could not hear very far. They could not run very fast. Images appeared on the screens. Ancient recordings of Earth. forests and plains and mountains, and small groups of humans living in simple camps. We thought they would be easy to control, Sulka continued. They volunteered to claim the planet. They sent 10,000 of their best warriors. They expected victory in days. The images changed. Ships landing on Earth. Wolf-like warriors pouring out onto the grasslands. They were huge and fast and terrifying. What happened? Asked quietly. At first everything went as planned. They attacked human settlements. They killed many. The humans seemed helpless. They ran, they hid, they laughed at how weak they were. Sulka's voice dropped lower. Then the humans started learning. New images appeared, darker images. A patrol walking through a forest at night. They looked confident, strong. The humans watched them for days. They learned how the wolves hunted. They learned when they slept. They learned what they ate and where they found water. Then they began to strike back. The images showed traps, pits covered with leaves, ropes that caught legs, poison on arrows, fire in the night. They were not prepared for this, Sulka said. They were predators. They had always been the hunters. They did not know how to be prey. But they were stronger, said. They were faster. They had better weapons. Yes, but the humans had something else. Sulka turned to look at with her ancient eyes. They had patience and endurance and a terrible, terrible refusal to give up. The next images made feel cold. A group of warriors running across a plain. They were wounded, exhausted. Behind them, far behind them, small figures followed. Humans, walking, just walking. They could run faster, Sulka explained. But they could not run forever. They would sprint ahead, rest, and think they were safe. Then they would see the humans appear on the horizon, still coming, always coming, never stopping. The warriors in the image fell one by one, some from exhaustion, some from fear, some from their hearts simply giving up. The humans did not chase them for hours. They chased them for days. They did not need to catch them. They just needed to outlast them. The final image showed a single warrior on the ground. His eyes were wide with terror. Standing over him was a human, small, thin, covered in sweat and dirt, holding a simple stone spear. Waiting. The invasion failed, Sulka said. Of 10,000 warriors, fewer than 100 escaped Earth. They returned to the collective with a warning. They said they had found monsters, creatures that could not be killed, creatures that never stopped. She turned off the screens. The chamber fell into shadow. The collective declared humans a Class 7 extinction threat, the highest rating possible. Earth was quarantined. All records of humans were erased. The predator species were told to forget they ever existed. But you remember, said. I am old enough to remember. Sulka folded her clawed hands. I was there when the survivors returned. I saw what the fear had done to them. Strong warriors who could no longer sleep. Proud hunters who screamed at shadows. They had looked into the eyes of something that should not exist, something that should not be possible. What do you mean? Every predator in the galaxy has limits. We get tired, we give up. We decide that prey is not worth the effort, but humans. Sulka's voice was almost a whisper. Humans do not have that limit. You will chase. You will follow. You will keep coming until your prey dies or you die. There is no surrender in you, no quit. Your bodies are weak, but your spirits are endless. Sat in silence for a long moment. She thought about her own life, about times she had kept going when she wanted to stop, about projects she had finished even when they were hard, about runs she had completed even when her legs screamed at her to quit. She had never thought of it as special. She had thought everyone was like that. Is that why they're afraid of me? She finally asked. Because they can feel that. Their instincts can feel it. Their blood remembers what their minds have forgotten. Sulka leaned forward. When a predator looks at you, something deep inside them knows what you are, knows what your ancestors did, knows that if you decided to chase them, you would never, ever stop. Far above them, in the restricted section of the Academy library, was reading the same history. The files were old and hidden and hard to find, but he had searched for hours. He needed to understand. He needed to know why his body had betrayed him in front of a small human girl. Now he knew. The document on his screen was titled, Persistence Hunting: How Humans Became the Galaxy's First Horror. He read about how humans could run for days without rest, about how they tracked prey by following blood trails and footprints, about how they could survive heat that would kill most species, about how they sweated to cool themselves instead of panting, which meant they could keep moving when other creatures had to stop. He read about something called a marathon that humans did for fun, running for hours until their bodies screamed in pain, and they called it entertainment. Closed the file, his hands were shaking, his stomach felt sick. He thought about the spar, about how he had hit again and again, about how she had fallen and gotten up, over and over, about how after an hour of fighting she was still standing and he was on the ground. Now he understood. She had not been trying to win, she had not been trying to fight, she had just been waiting for him to get tired, waiting for him to fall down and not get up. Just like her ancestors had waited for the... And the worst part, she probably did not even know she was doing it. To her, it was just normal, just how humans were. That was the most terrifying thing of all. The Crucible was the Academy's greatest test. Every year, students were sent into a vast artificial wilderness. Mountains and forests and rivers spread across 100 kilometers inside a massive dome. For 72 hours, students would hunt each other. They would track. They would fight. They would earn points for every target they caught. It was not meant to be deadly. The weapons were blunted. Medical teams waited at the edges. But it was brutal. Every year, students left with broken bones and broken pride. This year, something was different. In the days before the Crucible began, groups of students met in secret. They were from different species, and more. They did not usually work together, but they had a common problem. The human. She does not belong here, a with 4 arms said. Every time she walks past me, I cannot breathe. My muscles lock up. I cannot train. I cannot focus. It's the same for all of us, agreed. His black scales rippled with stress. We need to do something. We need to remove her before she becomes stronger. What if she's already too strong? Someone asked nervously. She's one human, they replied. There are over 100 of us. In the Crucible, we will find her. We will eliminate her. Once she is gone, we can all go back to normal. They agreed. 15 hunters from 8 species would work together. They would track the human girl. They would corner her. They would make sure she never finished the Crucible. Did not know about the plan. She entered the wilderness alone, with a small pack on her back and a calm look in her eyes. She had never done anything like this before. On Earth, she had gone camping a few times with her sister. That was the closest experience she had. But she was not worried. She had read the rules carefully. She had studied the maps. She had packed water and protein bars and a small medical kit. She would do her best. That was all she could do. The first day passed quietly, walked through the forest avoiding the main paths. She heard other students in the distance sometimes, fighting, shouting, chasing. She stayed away from the noise. By the second day, she realized she was being followed. At first, it was just a feeling, the sense that eyes were watching her, the sound of movement in the bushes behind her. Then she saw them, shadows between the trees, figures on the hills. There were many of them, too many to fight. Thought about what to do. She could hide. She could climb a tree and wait for them to pass. She could try to sneak away in the dark. Instead, she made a different choice. She started running. The hunters followed immediately. They were fast, so fast. A could run twice as fast as any human. A could cover ground like water flowing downhill. The could leap through trees like they were flying. Within minutes, they caught up to her. They surrounded her at the edge of a ravine. 15 predators with sharp claws and sharp teeth and confident smiles. "End of the line, human," the leader said. "You should not have come here. You do not belong with hunters." Looked at them. She was breathing hard, but her eyes were calm. She studied each of them for a long moment. Then she turned and kept running. She jumped down into the ravine. She slid down rocks and splashed through the stream at the bottom. She climbed up the other side and kept going. The hunters laughed. Did she really think she could escape? They were faster, they were stronger, they would catch her in minutes. They chased her. And they did catch up, again and again. They cornered her. They thought she was trapped, but each time she would slip away. Each time she would start running again. Hours passed. The hunters started to slow down. They were built for short, explosive chases. Sprint, catch, kill, that was how predators hunted. They were not designed for this. This endless, pointless running that went nowhere. "Why won't she stop?" A gasped. He was leaning against a tree, trying to catch his breath. "She has to get tired eventually," the said, but even his voice was weak now. They kept following. They could not give up. Their pride would not let them. But as the sun set and rose again, as day turned to night and night turned to day, something terrible became clear. The human was not getting tired. No, that was not quite right. She was tired. They could see it in how she moved. Her legs were heavy. Her steps were slow, but she kept going. She kept moving. Even when her body should have failed, she kept walking forward. By the 50th hour of the crucible, only 5 hunters were still following her. The others had collapsed. Some had called for medical teams. Some had simply given up and stopped. Was still walking. Her feet were bleeding. Her muscles screamed with every step. She had finished all her food and most of her water. But in her mind there was only one thought: keep going, keep going, keep going. On the observation deck far above the wilderness, and watched together. The screens showed the last 5 hunters stumbling through the forest. They were barely moving now. Their eyes were glassy with exhaustion, and far ahead of them a small figure in a torn gray uniform was still walking. "I don't understand," said quietly. "How is she doing this? She's not special, she's not trained, she's just normal." Did not answer for a long moment. He watched the human girl on the screen. He watched her put one foot in front of the other, over and over, even when she had nothing left. "She is not normal," finally said. "No human is normal. You just do not realize it because you have never seen yourselves from the outside." "What do you mean?" "Your species did not evolve claws or venom or armor. You did not become fast or strong or tough. Instead, you evolved something else." Yellow eyes never left the screen. "You evolved time itself as a weapon. You can pursue prey until it dies of fear and exhaustion. You do not need to catch it. You just need to outlast it." On the screen, the last hunter fell to his knees and did not get up. Kept walking. At the 72nd hour, the crucible ended. Medical teams flooded into the wilderness to collect exhausted students. Administrators counted points and checked injuries. When the final scores were announced, the academy went silent. Had earned the highest score in the history of the crucible, not through fighting, not through hunting, simply through being the last one still moving when everyone else had stopped. They found her sitting on a rock near the exit point. She had a protein bar in one hand. She was taking small bites and drinking from a water bottle. When the administrators approached, she looked up and smiled. "Is it over?" she asked. "I lost track of time." That night, the Academy received a message from deep space. 3 warships from the Galactic Collective were approaching. Their commanders had seen the reports about the human girl. They had seen the footage of the crucible. They had seen a small, weak creature outlast the galaxy's best predators through sheer, terrible endurance. And they were afraid. They were coming to assess the human threat. 12,000 years of hiding was about to end. The warships arrived like thunder. 3 massive vessels dropped out of hyperspace and took position around the Academy. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. Their commanders sent a single message: prepare for inspection. The Galactic Collective's High Council had come. They gathered in the Academy's largest chamber. 12 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat in a curved row of high seats. Some were old like Sulka, with scales and scars from ancient wars. Some were young and hungry, still eager to prove their strength. All of them were predators. All of them were rulers. And all of them were afraid. They did not show it, of course. They sat tall in their seats. They spoke with confident voices, but could see it in the way they looked at her, in the way their claws gripped their armrests, in the way their eyes followed her every movement. She stood in the center of the chamber, small and alone, stood behind her, but he could not speak. This was not a human matter. This was a galactic judgment. The head of the council was a creature named. He was twice as tall as, with dark red scales and teeth like daggers. His voice echoed through the chamber like rolling stones. "We have reviewed the evidence," said. "We have watched the recordings from this academy. We have seen what the human did during the trial called the Crucible." He leaned forward, his yellow eyes burned. "For 12,000 years we kept your kind quarantined. We erased you from our records. We pretended you did not exist. We did this because we feared what you were, what you might become." He paused. The silence was heavy. "We were right to be afraid." Did not speak. She just watched him with her calm, brown eyes. "The council has decided," continued. "The human must be removed from this academy. Her planet must be quarantined again. All contact between humans and the collective must end. This is for the safety of every predator species in the galaxy." "No." The word came from the side of the room. Everyone turned. Stepped forward. His silver fur was clean and his posture was straight. He looked like a warrior ready for battle. "I do not agree with this decision," he said. His eyes narrowed. "You speak for your species, young one." "I speak for myself, but I think many will agree. Looked at. I was one of those who hunted her in the Crucible. I was one of those who wanted to drive her away. I thought if I could defeat her, my fear would end." He bowed his head. "I was wrong. She is not our enemy. She has shown me something I did not understand before." "And what is that?" asked coldly. "That being afraid of something does not make it evil, and that the most dangerous creature in the room might also be the most patient, the most kind, the most willing to wait for peace instead of demanding war." Snorted. "Pretty words, but they do not change what she is." "Then let her speak." All eyes turned too. She stood very still for a moment. Then she took a deep breath. "May I?" Waved a claw impatiently. "Speak, human. Say whatever you wish. It will not change our decision." Looked around the chamber, at the ancient predators on their high seats, at the guards with their weapons, at with his hopeful eyes and with his worried ones, at Elder Sulka, who watched in silence from the shadows. "You're right to be afraid of us," she said quietly, "but not for the reason you think." Laughed. "Then tell us, little human, why should we fear you?" His voice was calm and clear. "Because we choose not to hunt." The chamber went silent. "Every day," continued, "billions of humans wake up with the same instincts you have. The urge to chase, the desire to catch, the satisfaction of the hunt. We feel all of it. We feel it in our blood and our bones and our dreams." She took a step forward. The guards tensed, but she ignored them. "But we choose differently. We choose to farm instead of hunt. We choose to protect instead of destroy. We choose to build instead of tear down. Every single day, we suppress our nature because we decided we wanted something better." She looked directly at. "Your ancestors came to our planet 12,000 years ago. They tried to enslave us. And yes, we fought back. Yes, we chased them until they ran away. We showed them what we could be if we chose to be predators." Her voice grew stronger. But we let them go. We did not follow them into space. We did not build ships to hunt them across the galaxy. We stayed on our little blue planet and we waited. We grew. We changed. We became something more than hunters. She spread her hands. You're afraid of what humans might do if we turned against you. And you're right to be afraid. We are persistent. We are patient. We never give up. If we decided to hunt you, we would chase you until the stars burned out. The silence in the chamber was complete. No one moved. No one breathed. But that is exactly why you should want us as friends, said softly. Because everything that makes us dangerous also makes us loyal. Everything that makes us terrifying also makes us reliable. When a human decides to protect something, we protect it forever. When we choose to be on your side, we stay on your side until the end of time. She looked at him. I'm tired, she said. I'm always tired. Every human is always tired, but we get up anyway. We keep going anyway. That's the human secret. We don't have the strength to win quickly. We only have the strength to never, ever stop. She turned back to the council. So you have a choice. You can make an enemy of the only species patient enough to chase you across centuries. Or you can make a friend of the only species stubborn enough to stand beside you through anything. She folded her hands. I'll be in the back row either way. The question is whether you want me there as a threat or as an ally. The chamber was quiet for a very long time. Then Sulka rose from her seat in the shadows. I have lived for 12,000 years, she said. I remember when we first found the humans. I remember the fear. I remember the decision to hide them from the galaxy. She walked slowly to the center of the chamber and stood beside. I have watched this girl since she arrived. I have seen how she treats others, how she waits, how she endures, how she never stops trying to connect, even when everyone pushes her away. She looked at the council. This is not a monster. This is what a true apex predator looks like when it chooses peace instead of war. And perhaps it is time we learned from that instead of running from it. One by one, the council members looked at each other. The fear was still in their eyes, but now there was something else too. Uncertainty, curiosity, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of respect. Stared at for a long moment, then he stood. The council will reconsider its decision, he said slowly. The human may remain at the academy, for now. He turned and walked out of the chamber. The other council members followed. When they were gone, let out a long breath. Her legs were shaking. She had been more scared than she had ever been in her life. But she had not let them see it. She had stood. She had spoken. She had kept going. Just like always. Walked over and stood beside her. That was impressive, he said quietly. I was terrified. I know I could smell it, he smiled, showing his sharp teeth. But you did not run. You did not back down. You just kept standing. It's all I know how to do. Nodded, then he sat down on the floor next to her. What are you doing? Asked. Sitting with you. He looked up at her. If you're going to be in the back row, I might as well sit there too. It seems safer to be beside you than in front of you. Laughed. It was a small, tired laugh, but it was real. That night, she wrote a quantum-link message to her sister back on Earth. She sat in her small room and typed slowly, thinking about each word. Dear, made some friends today. It took a while. Everyone was afraid of me at first. They could feel something in me that I didn't even know was there. But I just kept showing up. I kept being patient. I kept waiting for them to stop running. Eventually, they did. I think that's what being human is about. Not being the fastest or the strongest, just being the one who never stops trying. I miss you. I'll keep writing. Love. P.S. Tell Mom and Dad not to worry. I think things are going to be okay. I just had to give everyone time to get used to me. You know how it is. We're good at waiting. She sent the message and lay down on her bed. Her body was exhausted. Her mind was spinning. But for the first time since arriving at the academy, She felt like she belonged. Not because she was the strongest. Not because she was the fastest. But because she was the one who never stopped. And in a galaxy full of predators, that made all the difference.